In three, oh, that's two. Three, two, one. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, to wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to another episode of the Conflict Management Show. I am the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Half Man, Half Amazing, the awkward, awesome one, Malik Miles. That is the one namer, future Hall of Famer, Edon, and we're here to talk to you about the fights, the highlights, rumors going on in the MMA world, everything that's going on in the combat sports arena. Well, how's it going, partner? You're ready to entertain the masses with the conversations that got us through the classes.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely ready. I appreciate you giving me my intro this week. It's that's a pressure off me so I don't have to remember it all the time. And we got a lot of topics because like I said, we did the we did the War Back episode where we went over a lot of the storylines and things that kind of happened since our last post. But we still have some that we didn't get to because the MMA drama world keeps turning. And there's been new updates, and I wanted to start here with the new stuff because I found myself feeling an emotion relative to John Jones, Tom Aspinall that I hadn't yet felt, and I want to see where you're at with it too because the latest round of John Jones and Tom Aspinall going back and forth at this point now in June of 2025, I'm starting to kind of get sick of it. I've been hyped for this fight. I started to think okay, yes, eventually we'll get it done. Like we're all just trolling and having some fun about this and that. At this point, I'm really starting to doubt we're gonna get it. And the more I don't think we're gonna get it, the more annoyed I am with the social media back and forth of these two grown men who should be fighting, in my opinion. But for again, they won't reveal the reason. That's also part of this that's very frustrating. They won't tell you why this fight's not happening or why it's not happening in the timeline we want. But they both just keep poking at each other like they're gonna fight. Like, and it's just more frustrating that there's no announcement, there's no date, there's no, there's not even like a moving on from Tom Aspinall either. It seems even more like until we get an announcement, it seems like when he went on Good Guy, Bad Guy and was saying that John's retired, it seems even more like that was just trolling, that he's not going to have another fight, that every time he teases news and says "Ooh, I got a fight coming up. I have a date and a time." Like every time he does that, it feels like even more until it's announced that everybody's just trolling us, that Tom's trolling us, that the UFC is trolling us, that John Jones is trolling us, that everybody involved in the situation that's not the fans is just we're gonna give you it. Not really, not really, not really. Just it's like, oh, well, we might. No, 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 no. Like, and eventually, in the same way that you do that to like a dog with its chew toy or something like that, eventually the dog will just sit there and wait for you to throw it. You know, you can't pump fake every single time. Eventually, the dog will just be like, okay, throw it, or I'm just gonna sit here. This is ridiculous. That's where I'm at. I'm the dog who's just laying down, waiting for the tennis ball to get thrown.
And I think in this analogy, I think I might just be the bird that's sitting in the tree, just watching this go on. Because I hate to say it, but I feel like I I kind of had my doubts about this fight happening from the beginning.
Yes.
Um, I think I was kind of like, hey, if this fight happens, great, awesome, cool. But if it doesn't, I'm not super like one way or another. But I don't think it's gonna happen. But if it did, that'd be great, right? And my thoughts on it. I think really because I think when I originally was thinking about it, I was thinking it from John's perspective,
Hmm.
right, of why it may not happen. But I think as the back and forth's been going on, I'm like, oh, I can see both sides of why both sides either want it to happen or not want it to happen, or I can see why both sides would be frustrated,
Hmm.
right? Tom's side being like, hey, he's in the prime of his career. He's the interim champion, right? He is one of the future faces of the heavyweight division. If he gets to fight with John Jones, that is a life maker. That is a game changer, right? But and I can see, a lot of people are making references to like they're saying Tom Aspinall is the new Michael Chandler when he was chasing after Connor. And if you're Tom Aspinall, I feel like I would be that could feel like a bit of a slap in the face, like, bro, like what? I'm not just some dude who's just gonna wait forever. And Tom's 34, 33? No, right?
Let me check.
Or maybe, but he's he's not in, and let's say, for example, right? And I can
32.
see 32, right? You're in the prime of your career. You've been waiting for this fight, what, 2 years now? A year and a half? And time is just going, right? People thought January became February became March became April, so on and so forth. And now we are almost at International Fight Week, right? And I can see from John's perspective, I think maybe the reason why it's not happening is just John does not like Tom. And I think John has said that a bunch of times. And I think everybody just thought like, haha, he's joking. But I literally like legit think that like, oh, John might just be like, nah, not gonna do it. I hold, and I could see why John would be a fresher, right? Like John has, like we've talked about, has every record almost. He's broken like 10 records throughout his career, right? Like most title wins, youngest champion ever, oldest champion currently, right? Like this has beaten like 10 Hall of Famers, no, 10 former champions, 5 Hall of Famers, the list goes on and on and on and on, right? And with all due respect to Tom Aspinall, if you're John Jones, you're like, what does beating this guy do for my legacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like, and it was smart from Tom to kind of be like, to try to, in the past to get a fight with John, you had to like get under his skin, like how DC did or how Chael did. But also, I think maybe John at like in his 40s is just like, why am I getting why I think the way you got to fight with John back then may not be the way you get a fight with John now. And I think John might just be like, bro, I've done everything. And technically you've not done like you haven't fought a champion yet. You don't have any super major accolades. You know what I mean? And this dude keep on saying I'm a duck and I'm running. You know what? Fine. I'm gonna go to Thailand. I'm gonna go really be really enjoying the high life, right? And I think both of them are going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Whether they are gonna fight, they're not gonna fight. And I think that because John Jones said, I think that in this saga, John Jones has mentioned like, hey, I already told the UFC my plans long, long ago. What I was planning on doing. Why they haven't told Tom Aspinall or anybody else, not my problem. And then Tom Aspinall being like, John Jones is retired. And then people were like, at first it was the Tom Aspinall post of like big heavyweight news, and everyone was like, oh, is this a fight? And he was like, I'm sponsored by Champion now. And then people was kind of like, just silence. But then I think that now Tom Aspinall's coming out and saying that like, oh, that like him saying John Jones is retired wasn't like a media stunt. He was just like, yo, this is just not my character. I'm not a media stunt guy. I really do think like, hey, if I'm to his knowledge, that news is gonna be coming out soon. That like John Jones has decided to retire. And I kind of thought John Jones is petty enough to be like, hey, I'm gonna make you wait a year and a half, 2 years to like for this fight, and then just go, mic drop, I'm retiring. But on the bright side, there's not much, I guess, for what they're for what there is, or for the bright side there is, right? Tom Aspinall does say the rumor that's been circulating is that Tom Aspinall does have a fight and he does have a location. And it is fairly soon. And the other part of the rumor is that it is against Bongamin himself, Ciryl Gane, at UFC Paris in September for the heavyweight belt. That's, like we mentioned at the top of the year, my two dream fights for this year was Kayla Harrison versus Juliana Pena, Ciryl Gane and Tom Aspinall. Like, that would be great for me personally. And I think that's a really exciting fight because one, both men are both like in many respects the future of the heavyweight division. They are exciting. Ciryl is a superstar in France. Tom is a superstar in England. They're both heavyweights. Let's see who the king of Europe is. Who's the baddest man in Europe? Who is the face of heavyweight MMA, right? I think that both of them are both charismatic. They both are very over with the fans. I think that, Ciryl has never lost in Paris. He is 2-0 in Paris. He's 2-0 at the Accor Arena. Sold out show every time. And it'd be hard for me not to believe that a Tom Aspinall Ciryl Gane fight for the heavyweight belt in the Accor Arena, UFC Paris, does not break records and sell out a third time, and that Ciryl doesn't win. I mean, that I could be saying that as a Ciryl fan, but I will fully acknowledge my bias in that. That me being a big Ciryl Gane fan, but hey, we all know MMA math MMA math does not technically work. However, at the Accor Arena, Ciryl has never lost, 2-0, and we know fighting is just as much mental as it is physical. What is your thoughts? What do you think about the potential of a Ciryl versus Tom Aspinall in Paris?
Okay, so I feel like 6 months ago I would have said no way. Like if you're Tom, make Ciryl wait because he made you wait all those years ago back in Paris when you were in the front row ready to do some business and he gave you the no sell. As we come to June now, somebody at the top of the heavyweight division's got to fight. Like somebody's got to move.
And I feel like Cyryl's a perfect person. I mean, he just got finished wrapping up 2 different movies over this past time, or a movie, and because he was in Den of Thieves 2 with Michael Bisping and Ice Cube's son, and I think he's supposed to be in another film. Man, this dude is turned into a movie star outside of fighting. Like, he'd be like, hey, I'm gonna fight, do these movies, do these appearances. And I think everyone in heavyweight is so waiting for their chance, right? Because then you got Tom, who feels like I want to fight for a belt. Ciryl is number one contender. Cyryl's always one fight away from being in talks for a belt. Almeida feels like, hey, Jailton Almeida feels like, oh man, this is my chance, right? Volkov feels like, oh man, what about me? And I think that no one's trying to fight because everyone's waiting for their chance to potentially if this thing falls out with John, maybe it's me, maybe it's that. But this is, again, just my personal opinion. As I'm a fan of Jailton Almeida, but a Tom Aspinall Jailton Almeida card is not. It's not going to do numbers.
Yeah, no. Jailton is
Ciryl Gane, Bongamin himself versus Tom Aspinall. That card is doing numbers. I feel like it's like Islam. It's like the potential Islam Makachev versus Ilia Topuria. That card would do numbers. As much as I like Jack Della Maddalena, JDM versus Islam on the front end, I think the fight would be spectacular. But just to the like general audience, the casual audience, JDM versus Islam, this card's not doing numbers. It's just
Yeah,
not.
it's JDM's just not in the same way that uh, Almeida. Well, it's a little bit different because JDM's the champ and Almeida is
And he
just a
be
contender.
going down.
Yeah, and I think JDM with defenses and like opening up more on the personality, I think he could be kind of in the same way that people love Volkanovski. I
Mhm.
think, he's got a very similar kind of like Aussie type vibe where if he gets a few title defenses, people can come around to that. And even like the casuals might come in and be like, oh, there's this really chill Aussie guy who steps in the ring and just like breaks people and like puts all this volume out there and just, like crushing folks. That could definitely go over, but he's not there yet. He still needs like title defenses and opportunities in front of media and all these different things in order to kind of get the fan base rolling outside of Australia and New Zealand. He's got to like get some more face time with the audience in Europe and North America and Asia and all that so that they kind of know who he is and what he's about and give more time to get on board. And you really only get that when you're main eventing because that's when people see you on the top of the poster, they see your face, they see you doing media interviews, you're on ESPN, you're on morning news sometimes, like the big like national news shows, like you're
You're
going
on the
on there to promote.
marquee.
Yeah, it's you're the big one out in front. You're the star of Embedded. You're the one who's on the thumbnail all the time. Like you got to have those title defense opportunities if people didn't know you from your rise. So
Oh yeah, because I
he's
agree.
so he's not there yet, and like Jelton, I think really could be a big personality.
I
The
think so too.
same, but that Curtis Blades loss definitely hurt him in terms
Hmm.
of like you lost the undefeated kind of card that you could play for the more casual audience. And the other thing is we also need more of him. Like he's got to put himself out there more too, because he seems like whenever he's doing his winter interviews, he seems like he does have a good personality. He seems like a cool guy. He's always like really, positive and happy, and like he got a little dance to do. He's got that like Brazilian flavor, but we don't see that a whole ton. And he's not been like a main event guy either. So he's got to get those opportunities and like take them or start a YouTube channel or be big on Instagram or like any of the social media. Like he's got to put himself out there a little bit more and show some personality, do like some sketches in the same way that I think the next time you see Corey Sandhagen fight, I think you're going to see a different reaction to him because of all of the skits and the effort to put the personality out there and to show people like, hey, this is who I am. I know like I'm not Conor McGregor or nothing. Like I'm not Captain Charisma, but this is kind of who I am. This is what I like. And if you're being genuine and real, that's something people can get on board with.
And I think the fans resonate with that because you got to figure out what is your secret sauce, right? Like, because especially if you want to fight for a belt or if you want to get there, because right now at the heavyweight, realistically, it is just Tom and Ciryl.
Mhm.
And while us as fans would like to see a Derek Lewis, like to see a Tai Tuivasa break into that conversation, right? Just because they are fan favorites and they're over with the fans and they have an exciting fight style, right? The, you gotta like if there's four people at heavyweight, if they're on a card, it's gonna draw. That's gonna draw eyes, right?
Mhm.
Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa, Ciryl Gane, Tom Aspinall. If they're on a card, people are going to show up, right? And if you want to fight for it, or if you want to be like a star and put numbers up, you like you said, you need to have something going for you. Like literal, like Aspinall has all of England right behind him, and Tom is just like, if you see him in interviews, he seems like a really like swell guy, right? Like he seems like a proper dude. He's like, hey man, I'm out here with my family, out here just chasing the dream, right? Like it's a personality. He seems like a real nice guy, and it's a personality you can get behind. And he has a fight style that you could be like, boom, this is the guy I'm going for. Ciryl, same situation. He's just effortlessly cool. He is Mr. Charisma. He has all of Paris behind him. He has all of France behind him, really. And like he's just effortlessly cool, has a bunch of charisma. He's like like how Izzy and Brian Ortega and all of those other guys who are just like they're cool without trying. And they just show up and the media loves them, fans love them. You know what I mean? Like, and he has a fighting style that is exciting and people want to see. Minus the Volkov fight, because he literally broke his like 3 of his toes in like the very first round. In like the beginning. Outside of that, and like the John Jones fight, like if you think about a lot of his other fights, they're all very exciting. Think about the Derek Lewis fight. He threw like 130 strikes within 2 rounds and only got hit like 3 times. Insane work. You think about the Tai Tuivasa fight. Tai Tuivasa pushed him into having a dogfight. Remember, he got hit and he went like flying across the ring. He came back with a Street Fighter 16 hit combo and blew the top off of the core arena and had the whole French crowd going crazy when he got that finish. You know what I mean? Like there, you gotta have some like I think like when the JDM Islam fight happens, I think that it may not do numbers on the front end, but I think that will be a fight people talk about afterwards. You know what I mean? I think that will be a brawl, right? It'll be a really good fight that people go, man, that was this, especially if JDM pulls out the victory, which I think he will. That's a hot take. I personally think JDM beats Islam, but when that happens, I think people will be like, wow, that was such a crazy fight. Like, oh, JDM really, because I feel like people sleep on JDM's like takedown defense. And also how fire of a walkout song he has. That dude, I think again, the walkout is part of it. I think when you're a fighter, it's all a part of it. It's your personality, it's your brand, it's your persona, your fight style, and also your walkout entrance. Think about it. When you think about all the best entrances, best walkouts across UFC history, right? We're past in the recent years, right? At least in the recent years. Izzy with the dances, the choreography, top tier. Brian Ortega with the purge mask, with the hoodie. Alex Pereira with the bow and arrow. You know what I mean? These are things that like stick out in your memory. Tai Tuivasa is always the vibe. You know what I mean? Like he's changing it every time. He's having a great time every time he walks down to the cage. You know what I mean? But these are moments that you remember. You know what I mean? Like they stand out in your mind. TNT TNT is a great song. It's a great hype song. Yeah. And while he was walking down to the cage, it felt like he was walking to the beat of the song. So it just was in sync. So it was even better. Dude. And he has a fight style like when you see him come up with the boxing, you're thinking like, oh, he about to be just Hans McGee. Just 1-piece, 2-piece, 3-piece Bojangles out here. You know what I mean? But JDM really be throwing hands, but I think people sleep on his takedown defense because I mean, we saw it in the fight itself. I feel like that's evidence in itself. And Bilal has a very similar style to like Islam, where they, depending on the wrestling, and if they can't get the wrestling going, while Islam can strike, Islam is not a striker. You know what I mean? Like he's a wrestler who can strike and he does have good striking, but I don't think it's on the level of JDM, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Not for sure. I think a lot of people are pinning JDM winning on a lack of activity from Bilal rather than giving credit to JDM for stopping all the takedowns that Bilal did try.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I think the other reason that I'll agree with you that if slash when they do that fight, that JDM will win it is I really don't like grapplers coming up a weight class, especially like 55 to 70.
It's a big jump.
Yeah, that's a big jump, and to me, part of the confidence that you fight with, if you're somebody like Islam or Khabib, is that when it comes to fight night, you're going to be bigger and more imposing than the guys you fight. You're not very often going to come up against someone who's bigger than you if you're Islam and Khabib at 55. It's those type of guys are really rare, and then they have to have the stamina to keep you going backwards or have the correct technique to stop your takedowns so that you can't find ways to actively rest during the fight. And I think we saw that with, like, I don't think that Umar is as good as Islam is. I think Islam's better than him. But
Absolutely.
I think as far as like the style, you kind of saw what happens with a guy like Marab. It's not just that Marab is a really good grappler. It's not just that he's got really good cardio. It's also
His
that,
fight IQ is second to none. Like his fight
yeah,
IQ is great.
yes. And that combined with he's just as big, if not bigger. Like he's probably like shorter than Umar, but he's more he's got more like width. He's like thick for the weight class. It's he's kind of like short and stout, but he's not like an O'Malley where if you had Umar O'Malley, I mean, we all know who the favorite would be. Like it wouldn't
Yeah.
even be a question. And like I even saw a video from yesterday or today of Kayla Harrison going up to Sean O'Malley to have like a hug and a picture, and like you just see the difference. Kayla is thicker than Sean is. Like Sean is very skinny when he's going through fight week at 135. It's he doesn't have much like muscle tone or if he was working with a strength and conditioning coach, his strength and conditioning coach would be like, "Yo, you got to lift. Like this is not optimal. You don't have any armor on your body. You don't have any like explosion from like all of Sean's explosion is really just like being long and like having good technique and
And
seeing
range
it
it
well.
like yeah, counter striking, being a sniper.
Yeah, he's got good vision and good anticipation. It's not because he's explosive, because I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You could look at the guy's body and see like, okay, you're not an explosive athlete. You're not like Joaquin Buckley doesn't have to always throw really good technique or have great vision all the time because you could see on his body he's got a ton of explosion that he can just reach and grab for any time. So you might think you're in a safe area, and
Until
you
you're
might
not.
well be. Yeah. But if he, you know, pushes down on the ground with his big explosive lower body and gets in range and hits you with like a video game Falcon punch, it's not gonna matter the normal like calculations you did with your mind because he can change them by exploding really quickly and changing the picture. Whereas Sean has to take the picture and manipulate the space. He's got to be smart. He's got to be technical. And And I mean, that kind of rolls a little bit until into this week, which is how did Sean get this fight? I don't understand how Sean got this rematch.
You know what I think it is? I think that because technically, what Sean only had one title defense, right?
Yeah,
Which was like Cheeto Vera, I think.
yeah, because he won it off of
Aljo,
yeah, won it off Aljo, and
which
then
was the
we had
walkout for the
yeah,
walkout Sean O'Malley had for the Aljo fight. It's one of those like how we was talking about the
moments.
JDM walkout with
Mm,
the walking out to TNT, walking out the superstar, and it feel like it fit the moment. Oh man, that was another one of those top tier walkout moments, like one of those legendary walkouts that you remember for years to come. Because one, superstar is just a phenomenal, like TNT, ACDC, Superstar by Lupe Fiasco. Oh man, those the song just hits, and that was a great walkout, and it fits his whole brand what he was trying to do. Right, that was a great walkout. But that moment, right? Because after that, but getting back to it, he beats Aljo, fills the dream, right? Becomes champion, fights Cheeto Vera, I believe afterwards, right?
mm,
Beats Cheeto, and then fights Marab next, if I'm not mistaken.
yes.
And I had Marab winning that fight just because I could see a way Sean could win it, but I was heavily believing that Marab's relentless offense would just melt Sean O'Malley's defense. And yes, they
Mm,
said he had a torn labrum, and you know what I mean, and that's a big deal. But I think because, like you were mentioning, it's not what makes. I think what one first. I think. Let me put it like this.
mm,
I feel that one. This may be a hot take, but I'm gonna say it. Rob, bantamweight goat. Maybe early to say it, and maybe too soon to say it, but I'm gonna say it now, right? And I have the facts to back it up, right? And or at least what my belief of the facts are, right?
mm,
But before I get to that, I will say this, right? This is what I was going to say. I think that the reason, I think because people like the fight was closer than when you look at the scorecards, the fight between Sean and Marab was like a lot closer than we all remember. Because watching the fight, it was very one sided traffic, in my opinion, right?
mm.
Like it was very clear Marab won that fight, and there would have been some non, some shenanigans going on for Marab not to win that fight. Sean
Right.
did have that moment in like the fifth when he got that front kick to the body
Mm,
that that guy that did hurt Marab, but for the most part, Marab won that fight, right? And people will go, oh man, maybe we're one big strike away from Sean maybe winning another round, right? But I think that for that fight, I think people attribute to Rob's cardio or his relentless offense, and I think all those things play a factor. But I think what makes Rob so unique and such just like a top tier bantamweight, and one of the reasons why I think I think he is a bantamweight goat, right? While Cejudo is great and while Dominic Cruz is great, I think the relentless offense, the cardio, the work ethic are all part of it. But I think the thing that separates Marab or just from another dude with really good cardio who weaponizes his cardio is his fight IQ and the effort that he puts in because he's always training with guys that are, with all due respect, like better in the gym who are better, right? He's
mm.
always training with guys better than him, right? Like he's training with Aljo and he's training with I forgot what's the the name blanks on me right now, but he's training with other champions, right? Even before he was a champion, right? Like he's always going. Like if you put like on paper, you put him against an Aljo. You look at Aljo and like I forgot what's man. I wish I could remember the guy's name. I wish I could remember the name, right, of the other champion I'm thinking about who also trains at that gym. The when you look at it on paper, those guys, those people, right, are better on paper. However, Rob's fight IQ of it being like, okay, hey, on paper you may beat me, but the way I'm gonna get around you and the way I'm gonna beat you is I have to now be more creative and think of like, oh, how can I overcome this obstacle? Because it's not gonna be through like brute strength. It's not gonna be through just crazy fast athletics, crazy fast speed, you know what I mean? Or like this or that, you know what I mean? Like he has to like work around being like, okay, how do I get past this? Because when you look at Merab's way to the title, right? Merab has not lost a fight since 2018. All right.
Mm.
He has the UFC record for most takedowns in UFC history. Over the 30-year history of our sport, he beat GSP, the legendary GSP George St. Pierre's record, with 92 takedowns, which is insane. He has like an hour and 10 minutes of control time, which is also an insane like stat. A 12-fight win streak, right? He is one, if I'm not mistaken, he is one fight away from tying John Jones's win streak of 13 fights. Like when you look at it, I think like the when you look at all like the biggest win streaks throughout UFC history, I think it's like Anderson Silva is like obviously the GOAT. 16 wins. I think John Jones and Kamaru Usman have like 13 wins, right? 16 for Anderson Silva, 13 for John Jones and Kamaru Usman. Rob has 12. Rob is one win away from tying the win streak of Kamaru Usman and John Jones, which is an insane fact. But when you look at Merab's path to the belt, off the strength of schedule alone, who I know I'm starting to sound like an owl, but like who is he? Whose resume is stacking up to that, right? The run to the belt. Aldo, Cejudo, Marlon Moraes, so Henry Cejudo, Jose Aldo, Marlon Moraes, Sean O'Malley, I think Sanhagen. Let me look it up real quick. But
yeah, I don't think him and Sanhagen have fought.
Yeah, okay.
I think they missed each other.
Okay, let's see. Merab Dvalishvili. Okay, Umar is the title defense, right? Which was a good fight. Everyone felt like that was a big stylistic matchup, and he still, boom, mind over matter, fight IQ did, boom, matching his cardio, using his cardio and the pace and the everything. He's a very smart fighter. Boom, beat him. Ran through Henry Cejudo, beat Henry Cejudo, gold medalist Henry Cejudo, who gold medaled in wrestling and beat Henry Cejudo with wrestling, which is insane. Beat Sean O'Malley, ran through Sean O'Malley, beat Peter Yan, beat Jose Aldo, beat Marlon Moraes, like beat John Dodson. Like, yo, the names on this list is insane. Beat Brad Katona, like the guy who did win the Ultimate Fighter twice. Like, I think that the list of names on his way to the top is crazy. Really, it does fit the name of the machine. And I think that when you look at that, I don't know whose resume kind of stacks up to that, at least on the way up. Because he's beaten, I feel like maybe the closest one to it is Jones's run with back from like 2010 to like 2013, 2014 when he was beating like everybody, when he was beating like prime Machida, prime Rashad Evans, prime Rampage, prime Shogun. Like that run was nothing short of magical. And I think that like other than that, I don't know whose run to the belt has been just stacked with champions and just straight up just fighters, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Not for sure. I think he's definitely in line to make a case. It's I would just say he doesn't have it locked up yet,
Oh, for sure.
and it's always kind of hard when a guy's still kind of in his career and presumably still in his prime to kind of like decide, well, is he the best to this point that we've seen? Like, and especially for a division that doesn't really have a long time champion. Like the guy who you would say would have done that
Dominic
would be
Cruz.
Dom Cruz, but he had all those injuries, which to some people you could say like, well, like because it was so broken up and like this and that, you can't really tell what he would have done in between. To some people, like to be able to come back from that and still reclaim the belt is like a separate like legacy point in and of itself. Like so to me the most deserving to this point in my mind anyway it is Dom Cruz. So I still think because of the injury situation, he is kind of easier to surpass in a lot of ways than other kind of like GOAT uh, contenders for divisions. Like, even though he has a head-to-head win against Mighty Mouse, it's definitely way harder to surpass Mighty Mouse's 125 legacy than it is Dom's 135 legacy, just because you didn't get to see a lot of the prime Dom crew. We lost a lot of it to the lower body injuries, unfortunately. So
Mm-hmm.
with that, I think like Aljo was kind of building a case for a little bit there
Yeah,
with some of the nice
for
wins that
sure.
he had, but then ended up shifting up to 145 right now, and it seems like that's where he's going to be and that's where he's going to stay. Marab has definitely laid down some markers with like beating Umar's big, beating Sean's big, uh, a lot of like Aldo and and to have the records that he has, like the I forget what the exact number, but he shot for like 50 takedowns in one of his fights, and like who's
Yeah,
ever gonna get that again? Who's ever
yeah.
gonna do that?
This is crazy work. And I realized I didn't answer your question. I may have not answered your question, your original question of like why Sean O'Malley got the fight. I don't
Oh,
remember if I did. But I do have a theory on that.
mhm.
I think it's because even though Sean O'Malley has only had one title defense, that's where I was going, and I got sidetracked into talking about Rob being bantamweight GOAT. Even though Sean O'Malley has one title defense, Sean
Mhm.
O'Malley is a star. And like how we were talking about for heavyweight, there's like four people who kind of like if they're on a card, it's gonna bring eyes with like being like Ciryl, Tom, Derek Lewis, and Tai Tuivasa. I think Sean O'Malley is that for the bantamweights.
Mhm.
And I think Marab is becoming that. But I think that if you're talking bantamweights and you're talking about if you took the bantamweights and you just stuck this person on the card, who's drawing the most attention? I think the answer is Sean O'Malley. They know he's gonna like put butts in seats if they put his name or face on the marquee.
Mhm.
And when you have someone who is that over with the fans or that's like uh popular,
Mhm.
you I think you do get certain opportunities. Like Sean O'Malley, the run he was on was like people were like, "Oh my god, oh man, Sean O'Malley, the Sugar Show." You know what I mean? Oh, da 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 da. And then, even though normally they wouldn't give you an immediate rematch if you only had one title defense, I think for how big of a star he was becoming, I think they may have given him it off the strength of that. Because me personally, after that first fight, I wasn't trying to see it. I didn't really need to see a second fight.
Right.
That's not the fight I was like pining for. I thought maybe they do what Corey Sandhagen's like 3, right?
Let me
Because
see
I
now.
was thinking like maybe Marab Corey Sandhagen if Sandhagen is 3 because he beat Umar. I was thinking maybe Corey Sandhagen.
They have the rankings have Sandhagen at 4.
So what is the rankings?
Okay,
Marab,
so
Sean, Umar.
no,
Who's
so
the
it's Merab, Sean, Piotr Jan,
ah?
Umar, Sandhagen, Song Yadong at 5.
Okay, that's what I was going to put at 5. I don't really need to see a Peter Yan fight with uh Marab because that was pretty. I feel like close and shot. Like
Mm.
didn't he already beat Marab already beat Peter Yan in a way that I don't need to see that again. He already beat Umar in a way I really don't need to see again. He already beat Sean in a way I really don't need to see again. So I was thinking, oh, they're gonna give that shot to Corey Sandhagen. That's what I was thinking. Because if I'm not mistaken, Song Yadong lost recently, right?
Yeah, so let me see. He lost last March to Piotr Jan by unanimous decision, and then let me see. I think he has one more one that's kind of recent. Okay, no, that was it. It's last March he lost to Piotr Jan, and then he beat Henry Cejudo this past February.
Okay. Yeah. Because it was the finger thing.
Mm,
Question for you. This is a bit of a side tangent, but
mm,
I'm very curious about this, right? So years ago, right? Years ago for this particular fighter, and like last year for the second fighter,
mm.
we've talked about it in the past, like trying to guess who's on the come up, right? Who's this, who's this, right? Like underrated fighters, right?
Mm.
And we're both pretty hitting pretty strong on this. Back when Shavkat made his around his like second, third fight, I was like, oh, this dude is underrated. I think he's gonna be a future champion. And he's number one contender in my opinion. I think he's gonna get the next shot after this fight. I think Shavkat will fight either alone or the winner of JDM in Islam, which I think will be JDM, and I think Shavkat will face JDM, and I think Shavkat will win that fight, right? Said called Shavkat way back during his like second, third fight in the UFC, and look, he's about to fight for the belt. You called Natalia Silva like way early, I think maybe early prelims time, and
Yeah,
now
it's
she's number 3.
mhm.
Like she's literally a fight away from the belt. So who now moving forward? Who do you think
Mhm.
is a underrated fighter? Who's your next? Do you have a pick for like, oh, this guy or gal is like underrated and not on a lot of people's radar? Because I have 2 people that I was
I don't know
that
if I
I'm
have
think that
anybody
just popped up on my mind just now.
that I would call like in the same way that Natalia Silva. So like the Natalia Silva call, its kind of genesis was just I was sitting there, I was watching the like she might have even been on early prelims at that point. It might have been her UFC debut. Uh, I was sitting there, I was watching her. The longer the fight went on, I was just kind of ticking boxes in my head of like, okay, she can do that. Okay, she can do that. Okay, she can do that. She can do that. She can do that. She can do that. And then I saw like, oh, okay, like the skill set that I've seen in her UFC debut combined with her age and athleticism, I was like, this is good enough to be top 5, top 10 right now. And then when we went forward, I started to see a little bit more like grappling, and I was like, oh, for sure. Like the second I saw the grappling, I was like, okay, if she has what I've already seen with the kickboxing and she has grappling, like this could be a champ. And then like the full like stamp for me was the Jessica Andrade, like because
That was
that
a
was my one.
crazy fight.
Yeah,
She
that was
really put a stamp on that. She really.
yeah. Going into that, I was still concerned a little bit because I hadn't really seen her against somebody who I thought like, oh, this person could physically get a hold of her and she would be at a disadvantage in that. And then she just fought off the back foot masterfully, put out all types of volume, didn't get tired, like was absolutely like death by 1,000 paper cuts on Jessica Andrade. Didn't commit too super hard on any of her strikes, just touch, 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 circle out, touch, 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 touch. And then even when it came in to the inside, she had the inside striking game. She had the elbow, she had the Muay Thai. And that to me, I was like, okay, yeah, like that's the confirmation of confidence. I had seen all of the things before, but that was the test in my mind of like, okay, once you can do that to Andrade, now the amount of fighters in my head on the planet right now that could beat you gets really small. Like there's like a couple left in my mind who I go, maybe they'd beat you. So that was kind of how that came about. I would say one of the guys, I do have one.
Mhm.
So I'm not ready to say he's champion yet. In the same way, I wasn't quite ready on my very first watching of Natalia Silva to say that she could be champion, or that she would be rather. I'm gonna say a guy who I think maybe could be, because it's always tough in these lighter weight classes to be someone who can be champ, because it's just there's a lot of competition out there. But and I already have guys who I like at this weight class, but uh on the fight card, Joshua
Dude,
Burr,
scrap pack,
yeah,
yo. Yeah, Joshua Van. Yeah, yeah. That is a great call out. That is a great shout. Like, I think he is very underrated right now, and I think he's not on enough people's radar. I a
yeah,
thousand
especially
percent
at
agree with that.
23, what he's shown already in the UFC, it's when I saw him uh against Ray Saruya, because I think that was the one where we both picked Ray Saruya. We thought like, okay,
Yeah,
and then he showed that against Ray Saruya. I was like, okay, I need to take notice now. Like, I need
that's what
to,
put me on Joshua
yeah,
Van because I've seen him fight like I think maybe once or twice prior to Ray Saruya. And I was thinking like, oh, this dude's good. But when it was like when he was fighting Ray Saruya, I was like, oh, I'm definitely going for Ray Saruya. And then when he really kind of neutralized the wrestling and the grappling of Ray Saruya and was really kind of piecing up piece working, getting busy with the hands, I was kind of like, wow, okay, that really put me on notice to Joshua Van.
yeah. So I would say of the ones that I can keep off the top of my head who happen to come up where I say like, ooh, this guy could be really interesting. Obviously, like in that division, we already have Tatsuro Taira,
Yeah,
and
I'm
he's young
still
and
very big
impressive
on Tatsudo
also.
Taira.
And I'm super confident that he will be champion, absolutely.
Same.
So that's where it kind of like runs into this kind of like my mind goes like, oh, both these guys are going to be great, but
Mhm.
also in my mind I go like, can he beat Tatsuro Taira? I'm not so sure.
I think that they could have a good rivalry maybe at the top,
Mm,
I think both of them will get to the top of the division without
Yes.
a doubt, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Without a doubt, I see them both at the top of the division one day. I've been such a big. I've been telling people about Tatsuro Taira since he got signed to the UFC, saying that this dude was gonna be our first champion, the first Japanese champion to kind of like make it to the top and like win the first UFC champion from Japan, right? And I've been saying it since he got signed. I was like, oh, this dude. And then he's been really showing up and showing out. And I feel like some people was like, I don't know. And I was like, he kept on it. And I was like, this is what I'm telling y'all. You're not peeping game that Tatsuro Taira is going to be a champion. And I think that the Brandon Royval fight, yes, he did take a loss to that. His very first loss ever was to Brandon Royval. That means you already that guy. If your very first loss, he's been undefeated to this point, and your very first loss is to the number 3 guy who's fought for the belt like twice, once or twice already,
Yeah.
and he's only 23. Dude, this dude's destined for the belt. I still have saying that Tatsuro Taira gets to the belt, becomes champion. I do think Joshua Van does become. I think that Joshua Van does make it to the top. I do think he can win the belt. I would like to see that matchup. I think that would be a fun matchup. I think that would be an exciting matchup. Like really good striking, like really crisp and clean striking with great takedown defense against like prodigy level jiu-jitsu and grappling and a developing striking game. I think that could be an exciting title fight. Like Tatsuro Taira's champion be Taira versus Van for the belt. I think that would be an exciting fight. I think that would be a great fight.
Yeah, and I think that's one also. If you're Joshua Van, I would want that one as fast as possible, in my opinion. If you're his side, not only because it's a showcase where you can like prove yourself to the like hardcores of just how good you really are, but to me, the longer you let Tatsuro Taira get his striking game developed,
He's
the
gonna be
more
a
you're going to regret it.
problem.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
later on you don't want to fight this guy. It's if you're a guy who's like in your prime right now, I would say you want to call him out as soon as possible because when you get, 2-3 years away from now and he's 2-3 years better, he's going to be so difficult to stop. He's going to be such a hard night out. Even in
Cause
your best version of yourself, you're not going to want to fight him.
yeah, because think about it. Tatsuro Taira at 23 went all the way up to Brandon Royval before and didn't get like washed out or anything. He went. I think that fight was a 5-round fight or what was it?
Yeah, it was 5.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Tatsuro Taira at 23 went 5 hard rounds with Brandon Royval and
And
had
won
some
2 of them.
moments. Huh?
He won 2 of the rounds.
Yeah, he won 2 of the rounds and had some and went 5 hard rounds, won 2 of them, and had his moments. Oh, and yes, while a loss is a loss, to be only 23 and already accomplishing something of that caliber with a developing striking game and like a really like prodigy level grappling game, I think I agree with you. I think that once you give Tatsuro Taira 2-3 more years to develop his striking and further improve his grappling game, I think that's a problem for anyone in that division. It feels like you know what it feels like. It feels like a Mayweather, like a Floyd Mayweather Canelo Alvarez type situation. You know, like Floyd Mayweather fought Canelo towards like the begin, like not the beginning, but like when Canelo was still on his way up, right? Like
Right.
and fought him fairly young in his career. Then what happened after that? Canelo never lost again until he fought Dmitry Bivol, which was what, like 8 years later? And like, that's just where like, and he had, before Bivol, Canelo did not lose. His last loss was Floyd Mayweather. And after that, Canelo just kept on, after that Mayweather loss, Canelo just got exponentially better and better and better and better. And it was just just piecing folks up, just knocking folks out left and right. Like, he became, I feel like, if the face of boxing, if not one of the faces of boxing, right? Like, I think that, like, at least the greatest boxer, like, if not the greatest boxer of our generation, at least one of them. And I think that that's the situation Tatsuro Taira is in. Is that, like, if you're someone who was on the come up and you want to fight Taira now, because 2-3 years, you give someone who's 23 with already this like wizard level, like project, who has like this prodigy level grappling game, and like is like a jiu-jitsu wizard. Give him 2-3 years to like perfect his striking, because he already got some wins by finish. Give him a few more years, he's gonna be a problem for that division. But my picks two, right? I have two guys that I think that I think they're underrated and they're not on enough people's radar. These gonna be some real deep cuts. Steve Mean Machine Garcia, the featherweight. I don't. Are you aware? Are you aware of him? Do you know who I'm talking about? He's very low key, and he's
Did he fight recently?
I think he fought on the same Silva when he fought on the same card as Natalia Silva when she fought Jessica Andrade back, like, I think last September.
Yeah, September of last year.
Okay, so 6-2, right? He's a featherweight, 6-2 on a 5-fight winning streak, and 6 of his 8 wins are by KO TKO. His name fits his fight style. Man's mean machine. He coming out there and putting in work. He's hitting the clock and being like, "Yo, it's time to punch in and have someone clock out." Like, I've been watching him, like, his last 5 or 6 fights, and Buddy comes in to put in work. He's flying under the radar for a lot of people right now, I feel like. But when you watch him, it's kind of like JDM. When you watch JDM, I feel like JDM, when you watch a JDM fight, it's a fun fight. It's a good time, right? I would say the same for Steve Garcia. I think that, like, when you watch him fight, he goes for the finish. Like, he goes for the finish. I think that, like, it's like him and Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, right? Another guy who's underrated, I think, who's not on enough people's radar. But my other choice is Malcolm Wellmaker.
Okay, yeah.
Dude from, had his 9-0 as a professional, 1-0 in the UFC. He got his start off the Contender Series, won there. A fellow Blasian. I'm here for it. I was hyped for him. I was like, yo, I saw, and seems like the personality's dope, the fight style's dope. I think he has future championship potential. I think that I feel strong top 5 potential, future championship potential. His UFC debut cleared the guy. If I'm not mistaken, first round knockout, right?
Yes.
I think that both these guys are very underrated, and I think that they're not on enough people's radar right now. I think these people will make a splash in their respective divisions. If these are links, if you don't know, now you know picks. Hey, and with my, I guess, history of picking fighters, I be knowing what I'm saying. I picked Alexa Grasso back in 2017, 2016 at the beginning of her career. I said she's going to be a champion one day. I've been rocking and rolling with Alexa Grasso since 2016 to 2017. She became a champion. Said Juliana Pena was going to be a champion. Back on the Ultimate Fighter days. There's been ups and downs. Boom, champion. Even called both Grasso and Pena's wins against two of the pound for pound best female fighters of all time. Boom, champion. Called McGregor versus Aldo, champion. Called Machida, champion. You know what I mean? Like, called Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman, champion. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm fairly fairly good at choosing who's gonna make it to the top. You know, I've been wrong a couple of times, but the ones that have gotten big, that have gotten right, have made it big, and nothing more brings me that much nothing more brings, I guess, one of the things that bring me a lot of happiness when you see someone from the very beginning make it, achieve their mountaintop of becoming a UFC champion and getting that recognition for the hard work and sacrifice they put in. Oh man, it's a great time. It's always a great time to see a new champion get crowned. But especially if it's someone you've been rocking with since the beginning. Seeing them become successful, it's a great time. I think that they're gonna do it. Who do you have in the Who do you have in the O'Malley Merab fight?
I have Merab. I know, like,
Same.
technically, like, I think the best argument you can make for O'Malley to get the rematch is like, well, if we put anybody else there, Merab will just maul him. So we might as well give the shot to one of the only guys in the division who has the one punch type power where he might be able to put him down and change the fight if we give him enough opportunities. Like, I can hear that. But to me, I just don't see how this fight's going to be different in any way. There was no surprise element to the last fight. It's not like if you're Merab, you saw something where you're like, oh, I didn't expect that. And it's not like if you're Sean, like, you knew what Merab was coming in there to do, and he did it pretty much at will for most of the contest. You only really had a moment towards the end, but I mean, I think if anything, if you're Merab, the lesson from that is, okay, once we have this guy down, we don't have to ride out on top. He's not really going to get up. Like, he doesn't have the tools. Like, he's got long arms and long limbs, but he doesn't have the strength, nor does he have enough technique to beat your technique when you're seeing what's happening. Like, if you're Merab and you're seeing everything that's happening from his side defensively, you have good enough technique offensively to take that position away from him, to change the position again, to get to the next position before he can. Like, your grappling instincts and how you're able to implement them through hours and hours of training means that if Sean's unable to initiate a scramble, Merab's going to win the scramble because Sean isn't a grappler. He doesn't know all the time where he's going next. And if he does know where he's going next, it's because they worked on it in camp. So he's remembering. But if you're Merab, you're not remembering. You're just flowing to the next position. You can see it in your mind before it even happens. You're just going 1 to 2 to 3. You're just following his hips and staying on top. Whereas if you're Sean, you're like rehearsing moves. You're like trying to remember, okay, I do this, then I do this, then I go here, then I do this. Like you're going 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I did 1, I did 2, I did 3, now we go 4. But if you're Marab, you don't need to even know the order. You're like, okay, he's over here. I just keep going. I keep roll through. Okay, I'm on top. Here we are. So I think if you're Marab, the lesson is when you do get him down this time, you can be more open. You don't have to close down. You don't have to be nervous about your place. It's you're the champ. You're coming to defend. It's you're good enough that you can open up on top. You can land strikes. You can land elbows. It's you can take chances on top because you'll be able to get this guy down again. So I'm hoping the difference will be Marab goes for a finish when he's on top. I just don't know if that's going to happen. It feels like if you're just basing it off of everything we've seen so far, that it's going to be okay. Marab wins another decision where he's absolutely beating the other guy, but it's just not. He's not doing enough energy expenditure on the damage. He's doing the energy on the position, which is like GSP type smarter, but isn't ending up with the big finish, but is still impressive.
So with Sean saying that like he had a torn labrum last time, now he's feeling fully healed up. Because if I'm not mistaken, your labrum is your groin, somewhere in the groin area, right?
I think it's your shoulder.
Shoulder? Oh, my bad. It shows how much I know anatomy. The with the torn labrum.
Okay, it can be shoulder or hip.
Okay. So I wasn't super far off, 50-50. Now that he's healed up, he's completely off social media now. Completely stopped smoking. Hasn't stopped a bunch of other stuff. There's no funky colors. Usually he has a lot of like colors, like he's coming with the dyed hair and it's like all the cool colors, right? No hair dye, no social media, no smoking, no major press or media, just straight training. How much of that do you think will play into a factor, whether positive or negative, for Sean O'Malley?
I tend to think for a guy like Sean, in my mind, I'm not so sure that that's the right approach. In the same way that, like when John was on top and he was partying all the time and not taking it seriously and all that stuff, and he likes to say a lot, well, imagine if I didn't, right? Like, imagine I was just giving myself an excuse in case I lost. Like, imagine if I was taking it seriously, like when he said to DC, like, I beat you when I was high on cocaine.
Which is still one of the craziest lines ever.
Yeah. So, but to me, I think part of it is, the sport is so insanely mental. And even the most veteran guys show up to the locker room and they talk about the anxiety of the moment and how scary it is to go have a conversation with your opponent and the referee, and you're looking at somebody across from you and you're thinking, I don't have a problem with this guy. Why am I fighting him? Why are we here? Why are we doing this right now? I want to be anywhere but here right now. This is insane. Why am I doing this? And then you're sitting in the locker room with all of that, trying to stay mentally in it and mentally sharp. And I think one of the things that helps a lot of people in normal life through anxious situations is to have a kind of character almost, or some behaviors or something that are soothing to them, where like they might have, because there's some people who are really anxious where they have like something that they hold on to in their pocket or something like that that helps them self-soothe. Or there's some people who like do that thing of, oh, I'm going to pretend everybody else is in their underwear, so I'll be less nervous. Or I'll pretend like everybody knows me, and that'll like help me mentally relax and not feel like everybody's looking at me, or that I'm being embarrassed, or that I'm a stranger to everybody. So I think that part of Sean's big like ego thing is part of his confidence. It's having being the big attraction, in my opinion, helped him on the rise. To say those things and to then fulfill those things became this sort of like confidence that comes from self, where he was saying things and then he would do them, and he was building good cycles in his head of, okay, I'm going to say the thing, I'm going to do the thing, I'm going to be the star, I'm going to show everybody that I can hold these weights that I said I could. So to then go away from that and to be more humble and be more serious and to focus on it, I don't know mentally if that's the place you want to be if you're Sean, where being the star attraction has what's brought you to the top. So the thing that got you here is now something you're not doing. And in the same way where if you if you got a championship with a group of coaches in a particular environment, and then you lost your championship and you said, okay, I got to change camps. I don't know if changing camps, changing coaches, when you've already got to the top and fully realized yourself, I don't know if that's a good thing. Like, how much are you giving away to get something new? And how much are you, if it's your first time doing that, is that going to be uncomfortable for you now? Because, I mean, since you've been on Contender Series, it's been the Sugar Show. Like, Snoop Dogg and Uriah Faber were praising you the first time you were available to a UFC audience. So, to then bring it back and be more low key and not be out there, I I would just be curious if like the last time you fought Marab, was it really something where you were unprepared because of these other things? Or were those things really playing into a lack of performance? Or are you just changing something to change something?
That, so we'll have to see, because I wonder how much, like both sides are going to change, right? Like
Mm.
the Sean O'Malley who's going to show up at UFC 316 in Newark, New Jersey, is not going to be the same Sean O'Malley that fought Marab at UFC Noche,
Mm.
Noche UFC at the Sphere. Again, one of the greatest events ever. I'm not gonna, it's still like, that's still a moment that lives rent free in my head. The movies, the little mini movies they were doing, the whole like, uh, the whole setup, the whole thing. When they got the flowers falling from the ceiling, the movie, the pictures. I could go on forever about Noche UFC at the Sphere. That was my favorite event. Um, all the Noche UFCs I've been a very big fan of since they started doing them. But before I digress,
Mm.
the but the Sean O'Malley that fought Marab originally at Noche UFC at the Sphere will not be the same. Will just realistically, when it comes to martial arts, as like will not be the same, right? That fights him in Newark, New Jersey at 316.
Well, and
As
to
far
your
as,
point, he can't be because he's not the champ anymore.
yeah, that's true. And then also, Marab is not going to be the same Marab
Mm.
that fought Sean O'Malley at Noche UFC at the Sphere than he is at the one at the UFC 316. I think that's just, I think through martial arts in general, right?
Mm.
When you're going against people I've gone against people multiple times, and when you go against someone, let's say even twice, right?
Mm.
A second time, a third time, you there's gonna be different like there's gonna be different things you've added, since last time. There gonna be different things you've added to your skill set. There are gonna be different things that happen. I mean, yes, if you find someone multiple times, yeah, it's gonna get hard because it's like what they're gonna do. They know what you're gonna do. Like what your game plan. They know what your game plan is going into it. After what I mean, like generally they know. Hey, there's not that like element of surprise like the first time. It's like they generally know what game plan you're gonna be trying to do. You know what their general game plan is. What they're gonna try to do. But I think the thing that could tip the scales is like what is that who can implement that game plan better? Like, is there a new thing that you can kind of like Uno reverse and tip the scales to your side, or is there like, are you just better at? Well, maybe you've added this to your skill set, that, or maybe you go and just kind of like implement your game plan regardless, and being like, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do, but you still won't stop me from doing what I'm gonna do. Like that's the strategy, or you may just kind of pull up with the Uno reverse, like the Ciryl Gane versus Francis Ngannou fight. Everyone knew that was going to be a striking exchange, right? Everyone knew they was going to strike it out, da 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 da, and then Ciryl was winning the striking exchanges, and then Francis said, "Uno reverse, bet you didn't expect wrestling." Or when you think about the trilogy, like the quadrilogy, whatever 4 times you fight someone is the quadrilogy, I think,
Mm.
between Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueroa. Both of them knew generally what each other was going to do, right? Like Brandon knew what Figueroa's plan was gonna be.
Mm.
Figueroa knew what Moreno's plan was generally gonna be, but each time they try to bring something new to it or try to like switch it up and be like, hey, you're gonna be different fighters, right? I think Marab is gonna win, but I think I'm curious to see how much of an effect is the torn, like how much of it was the torn labrum, like how much of him being healed up is going to make that much of a difference. You know what I mean? Like he's changed up everything. No social media, no this. I do think that could be a big thing. Like the Sugar Show has been Sean O'Malley, right? And I think there is, when you're making changes, I do think there is a point of diminishing return when you're making changes, because at some point you can make too many changes, right?
Mm.
Some changes could be good, too many changes could be, depends on like the person, depends on the situation. Could all these things work out to his favor? It could all these turn out to not? They could all the changes Rob's been making also just be like bloop, give him that edge up? So I'm very curious to see how much of a how much different of a fight this is going to be compared to Noche UFC. Because during that fight, yes, on paper, it looked very close, right? I think for everyone watching it, it was pretty one sided
Mm.
for all of us who watched it. Because I walked away from that fight thinking there's no way he lost.
Yeah.
Some real shenanigans got to be going on. Some real tomfoolery, like had to happen for him to like lose, right?
Mm.
But Kayla Harrison, Juliana Pena, who walks away champion? Who is the face of women's bantamweight MMA?
So if you would have asked me this like the night that Juliana won the belt, I would have said overwhelmingly that Kayla's going to win. As we get closer to the fight, I'm talking myself into that Kayla Harrison's going to come out and try and get a finish and Juliana Pena is going to win round 3, 4, and 5, and she's going to win the decision and still be left standing. Like, I'm just talking myself into. I don't know if this is just like I like Juliana Pena better. I don't know what it is, but there's just this voice in the back of my head that's like, Kayla's never gone 5 rounds. Kayla looks huge. Like, Kayla looked like Conor McGregor-ish in the face on the scale the other day. And to me, I just go, I don't think that she could finish Juliana. Like, Juliana is the ultimate in women's MMA of like never say die attitude. Like, there's no way you're gonna get her to quit. You're gonna absolutely have to have great technique and lock in a submission, or you're gonna have to knock her out. Like, there's just no way you're gonna get her to quit on herself. It's not happening. So to me, it's this like perfect storm in my brain of like, okay, I've never seen Kayla Harrison go 5 rounds. There's no way that weight cut's fun. Like, she looked so like sunken in the face, especially like when she picked her chin up, like you
You
could
know,
see.
she's cutting down from 170.
I know that's what I mean. Is like that's got to be taking a toll. She's not a super young fighter, and because the first time I saw that image, I was like, okay, she can't do this that many more times. Like, eventually, this isn't gonna go well. And so I just got to think that weight cut was not fun. She's like probably not in a great place, and I just know Juliana's spirit. And so to me, that's where I've ended up on this. Like, old me from 6 months ago would probably like tell current me, like, what are you even talking about? Did you just watch the last two fights? Like, this is a super easy pick, slam dunk. But today, how I feel looking at them on the scale, Juliana Pena is gonna win 3, 4, and 5 and win the decision.
You know, I feel like for me, I feel like this fight was never like just like a done deal in my head. You know what I mean? Just because, right? Uh, Big fan of Juliana Pena. Been a big fan since the Ultimate Fighter days, right?
Hmm.
I would say I've become a big fan of Kayla Harrison. I think she's a great fighter and who has accomplished phenomenal things, right?
Hmm.
Big Olympics guy. So I think that we'll start with Kayla Harrison and then work our way to the champion, right? Start with the challenger. Kayla Harrison is a two-time judo gold medal winner at the Olympics, back to back, like a Drake track. That she was the best judoka on the planet for 8 years in a row because it's two Olympics. She is the only person in in Team USA's history at the Olympics, man or woman, to win two back-to-back gold medals at judo. Only person ever, man or woman, for for our team. Like, literally the only person, which is a crazy uh, feat to accomplish, right?
Hmm.
Phenomenal. Goes to the PFL. What, 17-1? Becomes like a three-time PFL champion, right?
Hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. Comes to the UFC, completely runs over Holly Holm. Because everyone, like, I think a lot of people was having their doubts because it was like, oh, another Olympic super high level judoka going against Holly Holm. We know what Holly Holm did to the last judoka. Boom. Holly Holm, Kayla Harrison said, hey, I ain't Ronda Rousey. No disrespect. Like, she's phenomenal. She's great. She's done great things for the sport. Boom. And just bulldozed her way through Holly Holm, which was very impressive to see because everyone's like, oh, PFL and UFC, the level's very different, levels very different, levels very different. You know what I mean? Level of competition you're fighting at the PFL isn't the same. And she bulldozed her way through Holly Holm, which was very impressive. I saw that and I said, oh, yeah, she could fight for the belt. At that point, I was like, oh, it's going to be Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison at some point for the belt. Once Juliana Pena gets her belt bag, it's going to eventually be, boom, right? It's going to be them at some point. She get Caitlin Vieira. She beat her as well, right? Because I know some people thought like, oh, she didn't run through Caitlin Vieira like how she did Holly Holm, but Caitlin Vieira is very good. And for Kayla Harrison to kind of like pull through, dig deep and pull through and beat her, also very impressive. Boom. She is the biggest challenge to date, Juliana Pena, right? I know some people will be like, oh man, she's has the strength advantage, has the size advantage, has the, the grappling advantage, right? Now, Juliana, the Venezuelan vixen, her set. Juliana is tough as a $2 steak. She is a fighter's fighter. Like, she is, like you said, the definition of never say die. Like, you will never get Juliana Pena to give up on herself. That will never happen in 1,000 years. You would have to literally knock her out or put her to sleep before she ever like gives up. You know what I mean? When she fought Amanda Nunes, the woman who's classified as the greatest female fighter of all time, and anyone who saw Amanda Nunes during her run will also say she is the greatest female fighter of all time. She went into that fight a heavy underdog. Everyone was thinking like, oh man, Nunes is gonna run through you, and Nunes is gonna run through you. Not me, not I. What did I say? I said, anyone that would listen, I was saying Juliana Pena was gonna finish Amanda Nunes. Everyone was like, oh, you're crazy. What happened? Juliana showed up in that first fight showed up for a dog fight. She said, nah, we ain't falling for the oar, you know what I mean? You're not getting stuck up in the thing. She came up and showed up for a dog fight, boom, saw her opportunity and got the win and choked out, got the rear naked choke, got the win, the submission finish over the woman who's considered the greatest fighter of all time. Second fight happens. Amanda Nunes largely won that fight, right? But still, Juliana was never out of that fight during that whole time. Like, Amanda Nunes was in danger that whole fight. If I'm not mistaken, she had to get carried out on that fight, like after that fight. Because Juliana took her the distance, took her all 5 rounds. She fought the greatest women's fighter, the greatest female fighter of all time for 25 minutes straight. And even though she was getting pieced up in a lot of those things, she never stopped coming forward, and she never stopped fighting from the bottom or the top. She was like, nah, I'm not giving you a second to rest. You're gonna have to fight me until a ref pull me off of you. You're gonna have to fight me for 25 minutes. Even if you beat me, you're gonna have to fight me for every single second of this 25-minute fight. And I guarantee you're gonna get tired before I do. So, and then when you're looking at Juliana Pena's record, right? I know that like she plays the heel of the women's bantamweight division, but she has one of the strongest resumes at bantamweight, like ever. First woman to win the Ultimate Fighter, 2-time bantamweight champion. Only one of 2 women have ever become a 2-time. Only one of 2 women at bantamweight have ever pulled off that accomplishment. Her and Amanda Nunes are the only female fighters at women's bantamweight to ever win the bantamweight belt twice, become a 2-time champion. That's already crazy. So that means her and the Grid and the Goat are the only two people doing a belt back to back. And she's like the first female fighter to like win a championship after having a kid. And she won it back to back. She won it twice. After, you know what I mean? Like, and then on top of that, I think that the tenacity of Juliana Pena, I don't think a lot of people are ready for, because she's coming in there for a 25-minute war. Yes, if it's over in 5, great. You know what I mean? But she is coming to to punch, kick, elbow, knee, bite. She's not going to do that, but you get what I'm trying to say. She's going to use everything she has to do to like pull out a win, however she needs to. So I think that it's one of those things where, and her jiu-jitsu game, her submission game is very underrated. I think that, so you have someone who has just that, because there's good martial artists and then there's good fighters. You know what I mean? Where there are good martial arts where they are very technical and they are good at what they do. Like there's good judokas, good Muay Thai guys, good Muay Thai guys and girls, good boxers, good kickboxers, good karate practitioners, taekwondo practitioners, right? But they may or may not have that dog in them. You know what I mean? And then there's good fighters who got that grit, that got that dog in them. You know what I mean? Who are just like Justin Gaethje, Juliana Pena, Max Holloway. You know what I mean? Like Dustin Poirier, who just got these fighters who just got that dog in them, who's just like, nah, we can stand in the center and just throw down for 25 minutes straight and see who goes down first. Like, even in under fire, they're still strong. So I think that like it's a very hard matchup, because like you said, we've never seen Kayla Harrison go all 25 minutes. Can Kayla Harrison finish it in the first round? That's a very real possibility. Can she make it 25 minutes? I think that is also a very real possibility, because you don't win the Olympics twice in a row without having some cardio on the go. You know what I mean? Can Juliana finish it in the first round? That is a possibility. She finished Amanda, the greatest female fighter of all time, early in the second, if I'm not mistaken. Can she go all 5 rounds? Absolutely. We've seen that happen a number of times. It's really, I think it's gonna be, I think this may be the fight of the, this is my personal pick of fight of the night. I think that the Juliana versus Kayla Harrison fight is going to be the fight of the night. I think they're going to have a knockdown, drag out, barn burner of a fight, because it's got, the chatting back and forth has gotten a bit, I guess you could say it's become personal. So I really do think that they're good. And, you're fighting for the chance to fight Amanda Nunes, right? Because let's say Juliana beats Kayla and then goes on to beat Amanda a second time. Fuego take. Would Juliana not be considered the bantamweight GOAT if that happens?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely have to be up. I mean, like, Amanda does have the like Cyborg and the Valentina wins, but presumably It's if Juliana could pull off this upset, I mean, I would have her favored over Nunes and Rhea just because, like, I don't like picking fighters who have come off, not fighting for years and years. So I think she might not be a betting favorite, but I think that she would be like the smart favorite if she fought if Nunes came out of retirement after this. Uh,
Yeah.
and then if you think about it, the hype would be a little bit different depending on how the result goes. But you got the super fight between uh, Valentina and Wei
Whaley.
Li, which
That's the biggest fight you can make in women's MMA. I'm
I know, but then
I'm
imagine if in the meantime we have Juliana, and let's say like if Amanda's got to get ready, you could do. It's probably a little bit easier of a sell if Valentina wins, but imagine if you did as well. That's tough. Okay, so let's fantasy book this. Okay, so let's say hypothetically Valentina beats Whaley, just hypothetically. Okay, this would be super cruel to the division, but I'm saying if Amanda's not ready, like recently enough, or the timeline doesn't work out, we could maybe do a super fight with after Valentina defends against Wei Li, she could then go up and try kind of like the Islam situation.
do Valentina versus Amanda Nunes again.
No, no, no. Valentina versus Juliana.
Ooh, that's exciting.
And then I think in the meantime, at that point, you'd have to do Natalia Silva versus.
There's no one above Alexa.
Well, Fioro is ranked above
She got.
Alexa.
I think she gonna
Right.
need some time. After that fight, she gonna need some time.
The only other thing I was thinking is like
After that fight she had with Valentina, Manon Fiorot's gonna need some time.
that's what I'm. Maybe you go Silva Blanchfield for an interim because I mean
Natalia Silva wins that fight
I know. I know. Like
easily. Like
I would
I feel like
personally give Natalia Silva just the interim anyway,
yeah.
like without a fight.
And we're fans of Natalia Silva, but also just that I think on paper that is a I think a bad stylistic matchup for Blanchfield, I think, just on paper.
Yeah. Well,
Where
I think it might have taken care of itself in terms of like designating Natalia Silva as the interim anyway if we would have had Blanchfield versus Barber because like I know they talked a good game in the lead up and all that, but I was kind of thinking like I was sat in my seat, I was waiting to watch um before Macy Barber unfortunately had like a seizure or something and apparently like I don't know what one of her coaches was thinking saying like, "Oh yeah, that was something we'd been dealing with the last like few weeks uh leading into the fight." Like, do you know how irresponsible you sound as a coach saying that? Like my fighter was having seizures and we were going to fight anyway? Like to me, if I'm a fighter or anybody in the industry and a coach says that to me, I'm like, bro, what's wrong with you? Like, are you out of your mind that someone's showing like visible physical, mental, like connection problems and you're gonna like send them out there to go get hit in the head? Like, what's wrong with you to be like, yeah, we're just gonna go ahead with like how that's insane to think and then to do and like we've had this discussion before with like corners throwing in the towel appropriately and them not doing it in MMA for whatever dumb reasons that they have. But like fighters can't protect themselves. This is their job. It's like they don't get that many options to make this kind of money per year. Like they need the money and they're also kind of like addicted to the activity. So they need other people to advocate for them responsibly in deciding if this is an okay move or not, or if you're healthy or not. Because another part of it is culturally in the sport, you just lie to doctors all the time, which again, not great, but it's in the culture of the sport. It's ingrained at this point. Like you have the whole like Michael Bisping with his coach lying to doctors about eye tests and their ability to pass them. You got like, no one arrives to the fight 100%. Like we get that, but someone needs to be an adult who can pick between like my shoulder hurts and I'm having like seizures and spasms and like clearly not well to get hit in the head type behaviors and physical problems that need to be addressed by a doctor. So like I was sitting in my seat, I was all ready for that. And then I wasn't thinking it was gonna be some barn burner anyway. So like to possibly go sacrifice your fighter for a kind of like mid contest, like absolute insanity in my opinion. And I agree with you. I think if Blanchfield fought Silva, I think Silva would wreck her because I think Silva's ready to challenge. That's the only question left in my mind is like, is she Valentina level, and can she beat her? Because Valentina's kind of superpower, in my opinion, is Valentina's adapting between and in fights and game planning. Like that's her superpower is how well she's kind of like John Jones-ish in that sense. So can she make it a full fight against Valentina and win the required 3 rounds? Because even if you win the first 1 or 2, Valentina's gonna have an adjustment because her skill set is completely. She's got an arsenal full of skills.
Oh yeah. Really quick, I will say I think Natalia. When I said yeah, when I said yeah, I was saying yeah to likeness. I was like, sorry, getting words mixed. Natalia Silva beats Aaron Blanchfield, and one of the hypotheticals I wanted to book in this fantasy booking, right?
Mm.
Julie, all roads lead to Amanda Nunes, right? Juliana beats Kayla. Huge fight for her legacy. First woman Ultimate Fighter winner, 2-time bantamweight champion, 2 wins against Amanda Nunes, potential bantamweight GOAT. Kayla beats Juliana and then goes on to beat Amanda. What is there left for you to do? 2-time Olympic gold medal champion, 3-time PFL champion, and now UFC champion against 2 of the 3 best bantamweights of all time. That's you can either retire or fight Valentina, right? Let's say Amanda beats Juliana or Kayla, right? You come back, fully stake your throne as the bantamweight GOAT. Then you fight Valentina potentially. Valentina versus Amanda in a super fight, maybe, right? That goes crazy, right? After, let's say, Wei Lee, Valentina beats Wei Lee. Or you could do Amanda versus Wei Lee, power versus power, which is also another crazy fight in the women's division, which I think was pretty crazy. But running through the main card really quick. This is I feel like I have a decisive pick for all of them except for the co-main because I'm torn on them because I enjoy both fighters. I'm hoping I think it's gonna be the fight of the night. I hope I think they're gonna do amazing. Merab definitely, right? Merab for the win. I'd be happy if Juliana or Kayla Harrison won just because I'm a fan of both. Kevin Gastelum against Joe Pyfer. Patchy Nix over Mario Batista, but I do think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think because Mario Batista is not bad. It's just his last win really soured his public view with a lot of fans, but he's not bad. He's actually really good. It just the last performance was so bad, like it soured a lot of people's opinions on him. But I think this is gonna be a closer fight than people think, and we'll see how Patchy Mix ranks out in the UFC where he places out. But I think Patchy Mix wins that, and then Kevin Holland over Vicente Luque. I think that we're gonna see like Kevin Holland come up and really like I think we're gonna see him put in work. Vicente, this is a home game for Vicente, fighting at home in New Jersey, but I don't know. This is just my gut picks off the top. What about you?
Yeah, so I can't go against my rule that I made before of I can't pick Kevin Holland. Uh, we did this one before where like I was feeling confident, I was feeling good about it. I said, if Kevin Holland's on it, he's gonna do it, and then he let me down that one time. So I can't rock with him yet. I need a little more evidence. So on that one, I'm gonna go with Vicente Luque.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like I said, I love Kevin Holland's skills. He's got a great personality. Uh, he's a super fun guy. I really think that he could be kind of further along in his journey in the UFC than he is right now if he would have took it more seriously from the start. But yeah, I need a little bit more evidence, but I always love the personality, so I'm open to being won over again and falling back into it, but I gotta protect myself one more time, and I'll take Vicente Luque. If we see another serious Kevin Holland performance, then I'm open to getting back on the bandwagon. Uh, I'm with you that Batista's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. He just fought a boring fight against Aldo, and he wanted and got credit from the judges for takedowns that he didn't land. He got 0 successful takedowns in that fight, and he's still acting like he dominated. He did almost nothing. It's Aldo the legend forever. Uh, Patchy Mix is super super good. I
Very good.
I don't know exactly if the casual MMA fan understands how good he is and like what he's been doing in Bellator.
I feel like he's like Oliveira good with the submissions.
Yeah, he's one of those guys where when Bellator existed, when people would go like, if you really think about it, Bellator's champs are real good and like they maybe
Yeah,
cross over into the UFC. Like this, I think he might have a type of performance where he shows that. The only thing that gives me a little bit of like, eh, not super confident is just that UFC debut hits
the
different,
UFC.
and I think you saw it with Pitbull also. Like, I know Yair is a like hard matchup for him for sure, but I do think we didn't see the full Pitbull because I feel like those UFC lights are different. Like they're real bright, and that feeling when you walk out in your UFC debut, even if you're experienced and veteran, it's really hard to like not get swept up in that moment.
I this is I agree with you that the UFC jitters is a thing, but my one caveat to that
Mm,
is that I don't think Patchy Mix will have those issues. Mainly because I can't remember what the exact situation is. I can't remember if he is engaged to Tatiana Suarez or they're already married or they're just dating. But he's with
mm,
Tatiana Suarez and has been with her for a very long time,
yeah.
to my knowledge, right?
Mm,
And for anyone who doesn't know, Tatiana Suarez, UFC strawweight,
mm,
been in the UFC for a very long time. He's in the UFC PI a lot, the UFC Performance Institute a lot, and has gone to, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much all of her fights. So he's always behind the scenes, like he's always in the back. So he knows a lot of the people and knows a lot of the, you know what I mean, the ongoings of what happens during a UFC fight. So this is just a theory, but I think after showing up for so many of Tatiana Suarez's fights and knowing the people in the back, that maybe that kind of like alleviates that UFC jitters because he's been there so much via Tatiana Suarez's fights. That's just my guess.
Yeah, and I mean, it's if he brings his full skill set, to me, there's no question. I mean, he hasn't lost in 5 years. He's lost once ever in
Yeah,
21 fights. It's, I mean, the guy is a phenomenal grappler. 13 submission victories in 21 fights. It's guy's S tier up there, you know. So I think he's got
Charles
the
Oliveira's
skills.
submissions.
Yeah, it's he's got the skills to pay the bills, and I think he'll get it done. It's just about, to me, if he's nervous and he's feeling the jitters, I think it'll be closer. To me, if he's like completely fine with it and it all goes like to plan, I think he'll get that submission because it's I can't recall a Batista fight where he didn't mix in the grappling. And if you want to try and grapple with Patchy Mix, that's
It's
not
a
a great
problem.
idea. Like you should stay off the singles because if you come in with the single, that's two hands on his leg. He gets to wrap up your neck. It could be out real fast. And then the other one, Joe Pfeiffer, Kelvin Gastelum. I like Kelvin a lot, but I don't know what. I wish Kelvin would at some point like tell us what his issue is, like why he can't get the weight under control, why he can't like stick to the diet and like the professionalism and like what's going on. Because you think about the guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame for the Izzy fight and the skills that he showed on that night and the way that he controlled range and like got in there and like gave us all a war. And we all thought after that fight that, oh, Kelvin Gastelum has arrived, you know. And for whatever reason, Kelvin just hasn't lived up to that moment. That was his peak, and we haven't seen that same Kelvin since. And I really would like to know why, but I can't I can't say that he's going to put it all behind him and show us his potential now at 33 when he hasn't really done that for me in a while. Um, and I really like Joe Pfeiffer's talent. I, I think that he's already been through a lot. You think about uh, his first loss on the Contender Series for that freak arm break, comes back, gets a quick finish, is like the hero of that season of Dana White's Contender Series. Like week one, straight out the gate, beat Joe Pfeiffer, uh, and he's got a lot to work with. He's in a good camp. He's in that like Philly area with those guys, and I just I like it. I know he lost that Hermanson decision, but to me, he's one of those guys where like there are some people who are ready for the top as soon as they get there, but there's other people where they need these setbacks kind of every now and again to like bring them back in and refocus them, and then like that's the new platform. Like, okay, this is where we're at. We brought back that, like we were getting a little too over our skis, but we're back now. We're humbled. We're back to base. Now we can build. And then like just periodically you kind of get a few wins, okay, and then bring it back to your new level and you kind of get a few wins and you like slowly keep progressing up where it's not like you're not a rocket, you're not shooting to the moon, you're not Sean O'Malley, you're not Conor McGregor, you're not a Khabib, you're not either where you're undefeated and you're constantly improving. It's there's some guys who just have that personality where it's like I'm the man, and then you just need a little bit of humbling sometimes to go like, okay, I still got stuff to work on. I still got to put my feet back on the ground and get into it and keep going. And to me, Joe Pyfer's maybe that type of guy. So I think he's had his humbling to Hermanson. He's going to come back now, give a good performance, and show what he's all about at 28 years old.
And we already talked about the Juliana and Kayla, and then we talked about Marab. So I think we can call it a wrap right there.
Yeah, and good luck to
Hit
Josh
the
Van
music.
also.
Second.
Good luck to Josh Van also on the prelims.
Oh yeah, good luck to Josh Van. Shout out to Josh Van. So that's our time. That's our music. That's our show. Appreciate y'all sticking along, hanging out with us. Sticking around, that's what I'm gonna say. Sticking around, hanging out with us throughout this show. If you enjoyed it, appreciate you. Come back next week. We'll be here chatting about the news and fights and the highlights going on in combat sports. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. See ya.